Everyone has been trashing on Battlefield lately, and I don't understand the hate. The game is good, and it's not just undeniably good statistically, it's good for these reasons I'm going to give you, and I'm also going to go over some of the things that make the game bad that do need to be fixed. I've been seeing a lot of people relating this game to Call of Duty and feeling like it's appealing to their fan base because the maps are very tight, everything feels fast-paced. Well, I will agree with you that the maps we were given do feel like Call of Duty. Okay, some of the maps you're forced into lanes and it doesn't feel very great to be in constant quick engagements snapping right off the bat. I do think they could increase the time to kill and balance some of the weapons out to fix that. But this was not just an open beta, which I don't believe it is. It was more like a marketing tool, but also used to collect data about us gamers and how we choose to play the game, the time to kill, how we felt about it. I do think the time to kill needs to be a little longer. As it is right now, it's a little bit too fast and can feel unsatisfying in sometimes. But do I think the game feels like Call of Duty? Absolutely not. Call of Duty is literally balls to the wall crack of a game, okay? Everything is way more fast-paced than this. You guys are being a little bit dramatic comparing it in such a degree. The maps, I believe, were strategically picked to compete with COD, to give COD something to choke down over there, because they have been fumbling the ball with their recent games. This is a direct response to them failing as a company and them failing as a gaming franchise. These maps were picked because they feel good. They feel like they appeal to COD players, right? And that was their actual choice. I believe this was a strategic move for them to blend the two fan bases together. And it's always been this way. These games have always competed. Secondly, people have been saying that this game doesn't feel like a Battlefield game. And I will say that I'm going to disagree with you. Hear me out. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 1 are different games. Battlefield 3 and 4 felt very similar, but carried some of the same aspects of the gameplay, like how the engagements and time to kill kind of felt similar. How I remember Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 are very much similar. Battlefield 1, for example, however, and Battlefield Hardline are their own games totally. Like they each game provides their own unique experience in the time that they're going for and in the setting they're going for. You could not put Battlefield 1 and Battlefield Hardline together and then say that they both don't feel like Battlefield games, because they are Battlefield games. They both use vehicles, they both have the same game modes, and they both have like the same objectives and the same kind of Battlefield-esque UI to it. It is a Battlefield game with different settings. Complaining about this would be like saying Bloodborne doesn't feel like a Dark Souls game, because it's not a Dark Souls game. Everyone seems to forget that just because this says Battlefield 6 doesn't mean it's Battlefield 4. It is Battlefield 6. It's a little faster. That's what the gaming community has evolved into. More high-octane games that feel fast and feel fluid, and this is one of those games. And I think it is still Battlefield. I still have Battlefield moments. I still have a casual, fun time hopping on this game. I'm not an esports gamer. I'm a casual, guys, and I have a blast. In fact, I have almost a 2 KD on a game that I just hopped into for the last 2 weeks, and that says a lot to go with how this game feels like for those who aren't that competitive. You can hop in and have a good time just like the other Battlefields were. But digressing, Battlefield 1 is nothing like Battlefield 4 was. The maps are different, the tone is different, the gameplay is different, but the modes are the same. They keep the same feel of Battlefield, but they tweak it to make it its own experience. And that's what this is. Just because it doesn't look like Battlefield 4 and it doesn't look like Battlefield 3 doesn't mean that it's not a Battlefield game. And it's certainly not a COD game. Making that comparison is actually ridiculous. Have you played COD lately? Have you hopped on Warzone? Have you hopped on a fucking team deathmatch game of Call of Duty in the last year or so? It is not like this at all. I will agree that some of the sound effects sound the same because they use the same guy. I forget his name. I'll put it up on the screen here, babe. Who the director of Battlefield 6 was. They used the same guy that made Call of Duty games to make this game. He directed it, so it has some COD aspects to it, but saying that this is like COD would be like comparing Titanfall to Call of Duty, because he also worked on that game, and that is not a fair comparison. I will say it feels like a big all-out war version of what Call of Duty would be, and that's what Battlefield has always been. their direct competitor, and their own experience slightly tweaked to make small differences more noticeable and appeal to different people. There's still vehicles, there's still, there's still piloting vehicles, referring to tanks and referring to trucks. They are their own skill set that you develop as a player, and that's what makes Battlefield, and that is all still here. There's still the team play. Everyone works together to do these objectives, otherwise you lose. You can't be a killmonger and kill hungry running around like Call of Duty trying to farm clips, because clip farming isn't really going to work in this game. You get a Battlefield moment, clip it. It's not the same as running around in Warzone getting a 6 kill streak and then you post it on TikTok and it blows up. It is not the same experience. And I'm tired of seeing that. I got flamed for this next statement I'm about to make on one of my shorts, but I'm going to address it real quick. This guy's quoting me, "This game is not statistically average." And then he said, "Yeah, neither was Battlefield's 2042's beta, statistically speaking. Such a smooth brain argument, the game doesn't deserve quote unquote nothing but praise." Like what? He says this. "Every game should be criticized where it falls short, and this game falls short, smooth brain boy." To rephrase what I said in the video that he's referring to, I do agree every game deserves its criticisms, and I have plenty of criticisms for Battlefield. The shotguns are too strong. The heli gameplay feels terrible because there's so many rockets being shot at you that it feels impossible to dodge. It feels inevitable that you're going to go down in a way that you felt like you had no control over. The maps that we were given felt like lanes. They felt like too fast-paced. But I understand why they chose those maps to be shown to us. It was the perfect time to do that. And also, comparing 2042 to this game is absolutely absurd on any level. You couldn't even play 2042 because your game crashes. In fact, before I upgraded to my 9070 at a 6700 XT, I couldn't even play the game because my drivers were too up to date and kept crashing. Because I wanted to play a Battlefield game before 6, and I couldn't even do that. So that is a completely different argument on its own you're using there, but I understand. And if we're talking statistically, 4 years ago, the Battlefield 2042 beta went live and an all-time peak of 156,000 players. That is nothing to scoff at. But Battlefield 6 had over 500,000 players. How are you comparing that? Statistically, the game is still not average. It is a good game. Stop trashing on it. And when this comes out, with all the content and all the maps and the balancing the way it should be, it will still need to be tweaked, hands down. I know that. I'm not stupid. It will need to be tweaked. The game is going to be a much better experience than we had in the open beta. That's why it was free to play. It was free to experience this, see if you're going to like the game. They're going to make changes, and it might feel a little bit different, and the balancing's going to be nice. The time to kill is a little fast, and I feel like they can still change that to make it feel more Battlefield-esque. But overall, this is a great game, and it's going to be good. We need it to be good, us Battlefield fans. We need this to be good. We need a good Battlefield game, and it is still Battlefield. It is a little faster, but there's a lot to love here, and it's its own experience. That's about it, guys.